In 1967, the most famous athlete on the planet was banned from doing the one thing he was famous for. No injury, no scandal involving violence or cheating. Muhammad Ali lost his title, his license, and his income, not because of anything that happened in a boxing ring, but because of a decision he made outside of it. For over 3 years, the loudest, most confident voice in sports went almost completely silent in the arena that made him famous. What happened during that silence, and how he came back from it, is one of the most misunderstood chapters in his entire story. 2. Emotional introduction. We remember Muhammad Ali as the greatest, a phrase he coined himself, and one that history eventually agreed with. But greatness, in his case, wasn't a straight line. There's a gap in the middle of his career that highlight reels rarely dwell on. Years when he wasn't fighting at all, when he was by most practical measures an outcast. This isn't a story about punches thrown. It's a story about what a person does when the world that once celebrated them suddenly turns against them, and whether that experience breaks them or eventually makes them stronger. By 1967, Muhammad Ali was the reigning heavyweight champion of the world, widely recognized as one of the most talented boxers of his era and one of the most famous public figures in the United States. That same year, Ali refused induction into the United States military during the Vietnam War draft, citing his religious beliefs as a member of the Nation of Islam and his status as a conscientious objector. The consequences were immediate and severe. Ali was stripped of his heavyweight title, and boxing commissions across the country revoked his license to box, effectively banning him from his profession in the United States. He was also convicted of draft evasion, sentenced to prison, and fined, though he remained free while his conviction was under appeal. For the next several years, Ali did not fight professionally at all. He was 25 years old when the ban began, arguably near the athletic peak of a boxer's career, and he lost that entire window of time in the ring. 4. The main conflict. The conflict here wasn't Ali against an opponent. It was Ali against public opinion, the legal system, and the loss of his entire livelihood, all at once. Public reaction to his decision was deeply divided. Some Americans viewed him as principled, standing by his beliefs at enormous personal cost. Others viewed him as unpatriotic, and he faced significant public backlash, including hostility from parts of the press and the boxing establishment. Financially, the toll was severe. With his boxing income gone, Ali had to find other ways to support himself during the years the ban was in effect, including public speaking appearances at colleges and universities across the country. By his own public statements over the years, Ali's religious and personal convictions functioned as exactly this kind of anchor. He didn't frame his exile purely in terms of what boxing had cost him. He consistently framed it in terms of a decision he believed was right, regardless of the professional consequences. That framing appears to have been central to how he sustained himself through years without his primary career. 7. Comparison with another figure. This pattern, surviving a period where public opinion and professional standing turned sharply against someone, then rebuilding from it, echoes across other high-profile figures throughout history, in sports, business, and beyond. What tends to separate lasting comebacks from permanent declines is rarely raw talent alone. It's whether the person's underlying motivation survives the loss of external approval. The specific circumstances differ enormously from case to case, but the core psychological test is strikingly similar. Can you keep showing up for what you believe when the crowd that once cheered for you has gone quiet or turned hostile? 8. Practical lessons. What can you actually take from a story this specific and extreme? First, identity built on more than one pillar is more resilient. Ali's sense of self didn't collapse entirely when boxing was taken away because it was never based on boxing alone. Second, principled decisions often carry real costs, and worth requires being honest about that trade-off in advance, rather than being surprised by it later. Third, setbacks that feel career-ending aren't always permanent, even when they look that way in the moment. Ali's ban lasted over 3 years with no guarantee of resolution, and he returned to reclaim the heavyweight title more than once afterward.